Welcome to True Heel Heat, the place where we use insider terms because we think we know what the fuck we're talking about, even though we don't. My name's Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and I'm better than you, and you know it.
Hello. It is me, the new media forbidden door, SP3. We are live on the True Heel Heat YouTube and Twitter machine for a special video. This was not planned. There was just too much news for us to avoid doing a live stream for our faithful and loyal subscribers and viewers of the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. A special 3 count with SP3 breaking news update, and it's a bunch of legal matters that we're going to be talking about. So I have the True Heel Heat legal liaison and legal expert when it comes to everything, when it comes to laws and legal filings that we're going to discuss on this show right here. He is the man of 1,004 numbers, the StatKing. You're muted, sir. He's a legal expert, not a microphone expert.
Not a microphone expert. What's going on, guys? It's great to be here. There's a lot of breaking news that's happening, a lot of shifts in the landscape of WWE, and I'm just glad that we might finally get some change. And it feels as though that's something we've been saying for past month or so. But this is yet another step forward into a better future, hopefully.
One would hope, of course. But yes, we are here to discuss it all with all of you. Yes, we are here to discuss Triple H becoming the new head of creative of the WWE main roster. We're also here to discuss Vince McMahon, unrecorded expenses, further fallout from his allegations. The $14 million in hush pack money apparently was unrecorded as WWE expenses, even though it should have. So much to discuss on this here. We want to hear from all of you guys in the live chat. Let us know what your thoughts are on this breaking news, on Triple H becoming head of creative, on Vince McMahon, further fallout from his allegation in hush pack money. Let us know in the live chat. And of course, your super chat donations helps out the channel so much, contributes to all the people that you see on screen. We are a self-funded channel, so that's the best way to show your support and to have your comment highlighted on screen. But let's get to it. We're doing it in the 3 count with SP3 format. So of course we gotta talk about the 1 count first, which is what has the headlines for most everything: Triple H becoming head of creative. Of course, remember to drop the thumbs up on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe if you are new to the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. What's up to Vala B in the live chat saying, bruh, and here I thought Vince was the real VK Wall Street, but turns out it's going to be the IRS going after him soon enough. We got the Negro Buck Nick Jackson saying, sup SG3, sup StatKing, what's good chat. We got King David, one of our newer subscribers. Thank you for joining us on this live stream here. I saw you in the live stream yesterday for ROH Death Before Dishonor roundtable review. Love to see you here. Maybe this means some crossover matches, which Triple H supported. We also got Frantic World saying, what's up SP3, StatKing, and chat. Bone Daddy says, can we actually get some good WWE television programming? Maybe. We got You My Boy Blue saying, sup y'all. Alan Weinstein here with us saying, SP3 and StatKing, happy Monday. Fine sirs, hope all is well. Yes, it is. So let's get to it with the 1 count, and it's all about Triple H will resume all responsibilities related to WWE creative in addition to his regular duties as EVP of Talent Relations. This was first reported around 8:52 a.m. Eastern time today by Fightful's own Sean Ross Sapp, and it was later confirmed by WWE. They clarified that Triple H specifically is heading up the creative within the company. WWE then went on to release their own statement on the company's corporate website saying WWE and board of directors announced new co-CEOs Stephanie and McMahon and Nick Khan. In this statement, they said, and I quote, WWE and its board of directors today announced the appointment of Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan as co-chief executive officers. Miss McMahon has also been appointed chairwoman of the board, and Mr. Khan will continue to serve as a member of the board. These appointments follow Vince McMahon's retirement announcement on Friday, July 22nd. In a quote from Miss McMahon and Mr. Khan, they said, "We are grateful for the opportunity to lead WWE together with our unmatched management team. We recognize this is a tremendous opportunity and responsibilities, and we look forward to serving the WWE universe." Additionally, this is the part that refers to Triple H. WWE executive Paul Levesque, aka Triple H, will assume all responsibilities related to WWE's creative in addition to his regular duties. So that was the big note, the big news of the day. Fightful Select, of course, further responded upon this, quoting what they said in the statement. And then Fightful Select wrote, "The chips are starting to fall within WWE, and Triple H is working in creative again." Immediately after the WWE's PR report, Fightful clarified with WWE that Triple H would indeed be heading up creative in addition to accepting those roles. On Friday at SmackDown, Ed Koskey and Bruce Pritchard were largely in control of the direction of the show, and producers were told that Triple H would at least be the finish guy, quote unquote. WWE confirmed to us that Bruce Pritchard remains with the company and will work in creative. Last week, higher-ups were told Vince would still be available to some degree as he transitions away from the company. Talent reaction to this news was general excitement. There was some concerns raised when Bruce Pritchard was both heading up creative and in an interim talent relations role, as talent had asked the person that handled their creative for time off if they wanted. One source at USA Network that got back to Fightful about the news said that this is an exciting change, quote unquote. So huge news with Triple H becoming head of creative. I think for pretty much close to the past decade, StatKing, this has been something that fans have all wanted. They've wanted Vince McMahon to be removed as head of creative, as head of this company and in his vision, and they wanted Triple H to take over creative due to his stellar track record for what he accomplished in establishing the NXT Black and Gold era from pretty much when he took over that Black and Gold NXT in 2012 as their developmental brand in Orlando, and then into 2019 up until pretty much when they started going head to head with All Elite Wrestling on Wednesday nights. What is your response to Triple H becoming new head of creative for WWE?
Wow. So Hunter is finally in charge. And for many people, this may feel as though it is a breath of fresh air. And in many respects, it is. But in many respects, it isn't. Vince was part of the reason why that the black and gold call-ups tended to kind of have so many problems, or some of them just fizzle out, is because that they were doing a style of wrestling and a style of characters and gimmicks that don't really translate that well on the main roster. Now, why are they not translating on the main roster? There's a number of reasons. First is that Vince isn't necessarily believing in those gimmicks and those characters as strongly as Hunter did down on NXT. But the larger reason is that it's a completely different audience. If NXT had consistently gotten the numbers that Raw and SmackDown do, and it's funny because we oftentimes talk about the declining numbers, but they still outpace NXT by a far amount. If NXT had been getting the same numbers, then you know that it's the same audience. But these people, when they get called up, have to be able to take their characters and translate it to a much more family-friendly and a much more less focus on wrestling and more on entertainment perspective. And as much as people may want to believe that Hunter is going to make these great sweeping changes, like getting rid of the 24/7 title or just this, that, all these different things, he still has to cater to that audience that Raw and SmackDown has, because that's what's generating the revenue. They are getting these TV deals based off of those ratings. NBC is not going to pay the money that it paid for the network to move on to Peacock if they don't see There's roughly 2 million people that watch SmackDown. There's roughly like 1.5 to 1.7 million people that watch Raw. Majority of those people will pay for Peacock in order to watch the network. That's what they're paying for. And if you start looking at NXT numbers, those people will be paying for Peacock as well. But if the wrestling was the same as if it was on Peacock, we don't know whether, I mean, on NXT, we don't know if it's going to be generating the same number of people converting over to Peacock and being willing to pay money for Peacock. So I don't know if Hunter being in charge of creative for the entire company is going to be as great of a thing as a lot of people for a very long time have believed. There's no reason for him to change the formula that has worked for WWE for decades. Yes, they see declining revenues, declining TV ratings, but their revenues have gone up. They are being able to get more money for their TV rights. They're being able to get more money for Peacock. They do the deals with Saudi Arabia. All of that is because of what that product is on Mondays and on Fridays. And there's really no reason for Hunter to change that. He might throw people bones here and there, like here's a little bit, here's a little bit. There's a reason why we got AJ and Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania. There's always at WrestleMania 1 or 2 kind of matches for the wrestling heads. That's there. But everything else is going to have some kind of larger entertainment aspect or value to it. Would Hunter have been somebody who was willing to sign someone like Logan Paul? I don't know. But the fact is that he is signed for a reason. And Hunter is going to have to find a way to navigate through these waters. And we always talked about how running creative for Raw and SmackDown was such a big challenge for one person because ultimately the buck stopped with Vince. The question now is going to be, can Hunter manage 3 brands simultaneously? And that's not even including NXT UK, which, I mean, doesn't really need that much, but it still needs something. Will he be somebody who delegates a lot of responsibility, or will it be a lot of the I have the final say similar to Vince? That's what we're going to have to see. So, it's a reason to be optimistic, but I don't know if it's, 100% kind of guaranteed that WWE is going to just completely change for the better, whatever you want to call that.
And this is something that I've been saying for years, pretty much, that this became like this whole thing that, it was like the light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of people, that Triple H could take over things and really cause the changes that people are looking for. But I also have stated, and I said this on, the Believe in Pro Wrestling podcast yesterday morning, that there is no reason, like you're kind of echoing what you just said, there is no reason for WWE to make the massive changes that a lot of fans want and need, because WWE is making these record profits. Like, as soon as the news came down that, Vince McMahon had retired, the stock market this morning, I loved the move. They were up, I think, up about $3, and then it went up even further after the news of Triple H in creative. So all they need is these kind of like buzz headlines like this. They don't need to make any significant changes to the product. I think that it's great to have Triple H there because he is a wrestler. I thought that the best role for him was in talent relations. But I one question I do want to ask, before we get into the second count, which is more of what we see changing in WWE, what do you think about Triple H taking on both roles? Because like the Fightful Select report said, this is something that a lot of superstars were complaining about with Bruce Pritchard, is the fact that he was EVP, he would be head of talent relations and head of creative, and there's those lines that they don't want crossed up. We have to also consider the fact and bring this up that Triple H just had a cardiac event last year, and that was due to his workload and due to how much stress was put on him. Giving him these 2 important roles in the post Vince McMahon era of WWE, doesn't it lean that it might be, asking him for a little bit too much at this point right now?
I would agree with you completely, because he was going through that just dealing with NXT. And NXT does, at best, 500,000 viewers on just one day. Now you're taking all the stress that he dealt with just that. Now you're adding in Raw and SmackDown. You're adding in talent, the whole talent relations aspect. And towards your question about kind of bifurcating or pushing both of those roles one to the side and having a different person for each one, it's actually very important because you need somebody in talent relations that your talent can trust and that they can vent to. Part of the job of being in talent relations is, in a way, just basically being a therapist and just being somebody that somebody can vent to and be like, I don't understand why this person is booking me this way or this, that, and the third. And then they hear your concerns. And if they're valid concerns, they can take it to that person, but also they're able to give you a different perspective to look at. If Hunter is in charge of both, it's harder for him to be able to have those conversations, particularly because he will always be looking at the big picture of what is necessary for the overall company. And one other thing I wanted to add, because you brought up the stock price going up. For people who want to believe that the market thinks that this is really great news, I just want to let you guys know Netflix lost 1.3 million subscribers in the United States on their last quarterly results. The stock price went up. So
yeah,
it's not necessarily that this is great news or this is bad news. It's almost any news these days will shift the market in some way, shape, or form. And you would think Netflix is losing $20 plus million of revenue every single month. You would think the stock price would go down. It went up. So this could easily be something that's bad for the company long term. Stock price is going to go up.
Yeah, of course. Any type of news is news, and it helps the stock in just any little type of way. So yeah, I do 100% agree with you that these type of like headlines for WWE, it gets people talking about it. So of course people are going to get more invested. So you're going to see the stock price rise, and it's going to be kind of cause some excitement. There's optimism, there's hope for a lot of fans, with this news of Triple H becoming head of creative, and it always is going to help on the business end in the short term. It's really what it does long term that is the real question in it. We do have a super chat donation here from Vala B. Thank you so much for that one, Vala B. We always appreciate that and always appreciate your consistent support. He says, so with the Vince stuff, it's embezzlement, right? From just done to Dundaza, Washington. How done is Vince? We're gonna definitely get to that. I'll highlight your super chat donation. We can further answer that question when we get to that. That's gonna be our 3 count. But as we're gonna talk about in our 2 count, what changes we see within WWE with Vince McMahon getting this creative role and the changes that's went down in the past 3 days for WWE. I see we have our master of news and reporting in the backstage area ready to join us. I asked him about an hour ago, is he up yet? And he's up and he had it. He's here for the news. It's Mr. Romeo Anthony Colon. How are you doing? What is your reaction waking up to this news story? First, this Triple H head of creative big bulletin.
Nobody sent me like a text message or emails. Like,
hey, I
did.
did.
No. Let me finish. You might want to, wake up a little early on Monday. Some big news about to drop. You might want to do that. Nobody sent me like any kind of warning at all. I was listening a little bit to you guys just now, and I'm going to tackle this from a little bit of a different perspective. I'm going to say, let's fucking go! Let's fucking go!
I am shocked.
Yes!
I am
Yes!
shocked.
Yes!
I am shocked.
Let's go! I did not expect this to happen that quickly. That's what she said.
Yes. Yes. No one did.
That was quick. Bruce, you can still be in creative. Just I'll be the head. I'll be the head of creative at Triple H. I'm excited. I trust Triple H relates to the modern wrestling fan much more than we already know Vince McMahon, obviously, but also Bruce Pritchard. So in that sense, it's exciting. I'm excited for all the people in NXT who I don't think really have to fear going to the main roster as much as they did in the past. I don't think you're going to see stuff like what they did with Karrion Kross, like drastic changes to characters. I think it'll be more seamless, a smoother transitions. That's exciting to me. If we could cut down on all the fucking rematches, that's exciting to me. You know, I just want basic stuff like that. You're muted, SP3.
Yeah, you're muted, bud.
That was what came out after the Vince McMahon news on Friday, was that one of the things that is going to be immediately changing is less rematches, because Vince will fall in love with the matchup and then forget he's done it so many times. So that was already going to change. So yeah, you could definitely be in lieu for that. That is like the next question with the second count that we're doing here. What changes do you see, or are you looking forward to with Triple H as head of creative? Something that maybe you enjoyed him doing as head of creative of NXT that you think is going to translate well on Raw and SmackDown, that won't really shuffle the deck too much, like me and StatKing were kind of telling that WWE, because of how much money they're making, they have no big reason to change that much, because regardless of fan complaints, there is a bulk load of fans that like what WWE does from week to week. It's not the people like us that do this wrestling media. There are fans that are like it regardless of what they do on the on-screen product. So what do you expect them to do, Romeo?
I'll tell you. 3 words: long-term storytelling. You know, something like Gargano and Ciampa.
That's exactly
remember that. Remember how great that was. The main roster was short-term storytelling. Vince couldn't remember that long ago. In fact, he would just repeat stuff over and over again. Just look at the main event for SummerSlam. Hello.
Yes.
That I am looking forward to. And that, also blends into, I just mentioned those names, maybe Ciampa could get taken care of now on Raw. Maybe we see a different Ciampa instead of Mrs. Lackey. I mean, maybe that continues for now, but maybe eventually that changes. Johnny Gargano, maybe he wants to come back now. All those guys, anybody who was ever a Triple H guy or gal is like fair game now to want to come back and be excited about a career on the main roster. I think those long-term storytelling and the talent that Triple H can acquire to work with him, those are the 2 most exciting changes for me that we could possibly see.
Before I ask StatKing this one, there's something else that I asked StatKing before you came on, Romeo. I want to ask you, do you think that there is a chance this might be too much for Triple H to take on? One, thinking about, all the complaints that was, reported about Bruce Pritchard having both of these roles as head of talent relations and head of creative, it being like muddying the water and being a conflict of interest. And 2, the fact that he did just have the cardiac event last year when he was just taking care of like NXT and some minor responsibilities on the main roster now, and he was the head of talent relations then on for the main roster. How do you think it's going to affect him taking on both roles right now in a highly stressful situation of being the head of creative and head of talent relations in a post Vince McMahon world?
It could be. And in that case, if I were Triple H, I would just get one of my guys and sort of groom them to be the next head of talent relations. I think if Triple H wants to do the creative much more, which I would assume he does. So that's what I would do if I were Triple H. Just get the next guy to be because everyone does seem to love him backstage, but that those 2 roles seem like too much to handle at once. So he should groom the next guy.
On the plus side, Road Dogg doesn't have to brown nose Tony Khan anymore and then get upset at his podcast because he doesn't get hired. I mean,
it might be him.
There too.
Well, it might be him.
It might be him. I hope that he gets someone like a Ryan Ward to be more direct in regards to creative, because that was one of the names I mentioned. I was not like a lot of fans that were mentioning people that have already kind of gotten the chance. Like Triple H, great that he has this role, but he was the head of creative when they lost the Wednesday Night Wars. So I know there's going to be people that, oh no, that was different. No, he did. He lost. He lost the Wednesday Night War. So I wanted someone new and someone fresh that did have a background in being successful. And I said someone like Ryan Ward, who was a part of NXT during their golden era and was writing a lot of the storylines and intricate long-term storytelling that you're talking about, Romeo, as well as he did help out tremendously on SmackDown in 2016 through 2017 after the brand split. So I wanted him to have a larger role as far as head of creative, but hopefully Triple H as head of creative, he can get that role of being that middleman from like the creative team to, you know, everything else. But I wanted to ask you, StatKing, something that Romeo brought up, something that I've seen in the live chat here a few times. Who is the star that you see that is currently a free agent that hasn't signed with a major promotion that could come back under this Triple H head of creative era?
That could come back, or that could just be there in general?
I know that can come back. That can come back. That had a falling out with it can be someone that just walked out. Like we got Orlando here.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Sasha and Naomi coming back now that Triple H in charge of creative.
Sasha is definitely a easy option. I would say either Sasha or Gargano. But I guess the question really is because Gargano's easily like the number one person that I can think of. But Gargano, the question there is, I don't know if he necessarily left because he was upset with the creative and where he thought it could go if he was called up to the main roster. But Gargano or Sasha is easily the two biggest ones I can think of. People outside that are currently signed, I think there'd be some great people that he could bring on to NXT. But people who had left and could potentially come back, I mean, they already got Cody, so I would say Gargano.
Wow. So what about
Karrion Kross?
Karrion Kross.
Kross is another one. Yeah,
good shout. And the biggest name that I thought of was Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt came on to NXT at the beginning, and he was one of the guys that Triple H was very high on and built the beginning stages of NXT upon. So I could realistically see him coming back now that Triple H is head of creative.
The reason why I don't think that Bray is necessarily as viable as an option is because of what we're talking about the necessity to change things. And there is no necessity to change things. And I don't know if Bray is going to be able to do what he wants to do and how he wants to do it with the Fiend character on a show that will still be, you know, catering towards children and catering towards a level of entertainment as opposed to a level of wrestling. So that's, I think with Bray, it's really a question of first seeing what the changes are that Hunter is going to make or will make down the road, and then seeing if Bray would be able to actually fit the Fiend into this whatever new landscape it is, which to me is going to be very similar to the old landscape.
I got to change for the Fiend. Don't have him lose every fucking major program he's in. How about that?
How about that? Be a quick change,
or lose everything or lose everything that he has to Alexa Bliss. One of the two.
Or that would help a lot. We got about 76 people watching right now. Remember to drop that thumbs up on the video, share it with your friends. We appreciate you all for joining us, and keep it sounding off in the live chat. We got a bunch of comments we're going to highlight here. Romeo, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, can I ask another question? That may not seem like a big deal, but I want to ask: do you see it changing with Triple H, Stephanie, and Nick Khan? The name changes. Do you think that's a big deal to them to change people's names?
Ooh, that's interesting.
That's an interesting topic. I would say that it won't be as frequent as we've seen in the recent past year, but I think it is something that they're going to do. I don't think that's going to change completely. I think that, you know, we saw with Triple H as head of creative on NXT, if you're an independent star that created a fan base behind you, if you're someone like a Logan Paul, you're someone like a Ronda Rousey that made their name outside here, of course they're going to let you keep your name, your real name, or your name that you've built on the independent scene. But as far as like this is the reason why they did this, was because they felt like they had to do those name change to make money off of their name. And this actually was helpful for a lot of different talents. Like someone like a John Moxley, you know, he got to get rid of the stigma of Dean Ambrose and go back to his independent name. So sometimes it is useful in the long term. So I don't think it's going to stop completely.
I think the name changes will make more sense. I think that's the best way to really put it, is that, like, realistically, what is the difference between Austin Theory and Theory? There's really not that much of a difference. What really
I'm more upset about, you know, the Walter to Gunthers. That's what really pisses me off. That's what gets me.
Well, hopefully also, you know, Hunter won't maybe make it a little Nazi racist. You know, maybe that won't be in there either. It's the little things that count.
That might help. Yes, I can only imagine if you're just waking up now to all this news that dropped this Monday on a Monday morning afternoon. Crazy stuff. But I think the more important thing, the final thing that we can kind of touch on, keep those comments coming in the live chat. Remember to drop the thumbs up on the video. Super chat donations are very important. It helps out the channel so much. We're going to highlight a few of your comments as well as the super chat donations after I ask this question.
And vote in the YouTube poll.
And StatKing here. What's your thoughts on Bruce Pritchard, though? Bruce Pritchard, you know, I said it was similar to kind of like the supervisor at work. You would think when the manager goes, the supervisor gets promoted to manager, and now the supervisor has been eclipsed by the former supervisor, the former supervisor of the secondary store. Of the secondary store at Victoria's Secret. And he's now eclipsed the supervisor and become the manager. What do you think about Bruce Pritchard? And what do you think about Kevin Dunn? Is Kevin Dunn and Bruce Pritchard's time in WWE kind of numbered? Their days are numbered, StatKing?
I'm not going to bother to try to do a Brother Love impression, but suffice to say, he does not love this. This is it's just not going to be a good look for him. Yeah, it's really crazy because he kind of gambled a lot on his ability to work with Vince and get back into the company. I mean, it was not that long ago that he was just doing his podcast and that was it. And now he worked his way back into the company, slowly ingratiated himself, moved up the ranks. Other people fell to the wayside. He kept climbing. And now after all of that, he just is basically going to get tossed out on the side. And I got to say, it's not the worst thing that I think could happen for the company if Bruce Pritchard is gone. The even better would be if someone like Kevin Dunn gets the hell out of here. But that's something that so many people have been asking for years. But yeah, Bruce, them's the breaks, guy. Them's the breaks.
Romeo?
I think for Bruce, if he's going to stick around, it's more like, just being respectful of him, like, you know, not wanting to fire him completely. Like, you know, Bruce, why don't you think of something for the 24/7 title? Think of a storyline for that. Matter of fact, you know what? That should be the first thing that fucking goes starting tonight. Get rid of that shit.
That would mark some change. Yeah, that would make a statement.
That'll say I'm here.
The 24/7 title is gone 24/7.
You know what? You can even get Cora Jade to come out here and throw it in the trash if you want. I don't care.
Get Medusa back.
Yeah, I was about to say, where's Medusa?
As for Kevin Dunn,
get the fuck out!
that's what Triple H should do at the meeting, though.
I can put it any better than Ari Gold. Or Ari Gold, the Candy Kid, put it perfectly. Yeah, Kevin Dunn needs to go. Camera cuts, the production, go.
Speaking of that meeting, over under, Hunter walks in there just with a sledgehammer over his shoulder.
Walks in and just like breaking Kevin Dunn's throne in the production truck. It's over.
Break the 24/7 title with that.
Yeah, why not? Vala B saying Bruce was never there because he was good at any role. Bruce is always going to be the guy who just shows up to fill a role. That's That's a very good point. Like I said, we got a couple of super chat donations here from Vala B. Thank you so much, Vala B, saying so. This is something that we're gonna highlight a little bit later, but this one here we got. He says, ultimately, I've seen Hunter give me what I wanted over the years running NXT. So yes, I trust him. Thank you so much for that super chat donation. Yeah, it's a little more optimism with Hunter in charge than anyone else, because of what he was able to accomplish with the NXT Black and Gold era, which is really kind of the best professional wrestling that we've seen from WWE in the last decade.
Can I highlight a comment here? This right here. Not so much DIY, but the tag team division. Triple H likes tag team wrestling. You saw that in NXT. Call up the Creed brothers and let's fucking go. Let's go.
Why not call up Creed brothers? Focus more on the tag teams. Don't break up every single tag team. We got Marcus who says, with Triple H being in charge, and if she stays, maybe we get the 4 Horsewomen match at Mania. I think another note that not a lot of people are talking about with this Triple H in charge, I think it became easier for WWE to give him this role now that he's officially retired. I think that was always something that made people scared, is like Triple H being the head of creative and still being able to wrestle, and he can book his own matches and have 30-minute WrestleMania matches. That was always what scared me, because I'm
you
still
can no longer
scarred.
wrestle. Yeah.
I'm still scarred by the Triple H to Reign of Terror from 2002 through 2005. We got 100 people watching us right now. Remember to drop those thumbs up on the video. Keep those comments coming in the live chat. Super chat donations are welcome and appreciated. Romeo?
As far as this comment goes, Triple H does seem to like Sasha and Bayley much more than Vince ever did. So those two, as far as the 4 Horsewomen go, could get much more elevated on the level of Becky and Charlotte. And as far as what we were just talking about with I forgot my thought. Well, go ahead.
No. I do agree that it's more likely. I think Marcus is on to something that is more likely that Triple H could, mend the bridge with Sasha Banks. Personally, as a Sasha Banks fan, I want her to take some time away from WWE, and I'm not talking about a few months like she did in 2019. I want a few years of Sasha Banks kind of building her brand, doing business ventures, doing Hollywood before she even considers coming to WWE or even going to a AEW. I know Sasha loves professional wrestling, but she has so much potential outside of it that I think that she would be treated much better if WWE is the place that she wants to be. If she comes back, she'll be treated much better if she goes out there and establish her name even more outside of it.
I remember what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
Remember that dreadful feeling on WWE television when it was the McMahon Helmsley era running shit? It was just like, oh my, that was a reign of terror. It's like, and then now all of a sudden that McMahon Helmsley era is running shit, and they're like, yeah.
Everybody's happy now. Everybody's happy in comparison to what Vince McMahon has given us. Everybody's happy because of it.
Guys, this could be a live look at what everything's gonna look like.
Oh my god.
That's great. That's just
fuck
great.
it.
Everything black and gold. We got Raging Jay, the biggest Sasha Banks mark, saying bring back Sasha now since that old popcorn fart is gone. That's a big tone change in him, considering how much it's WWE that did a lot of this stuff to Sasha. So I don't understand how it's automatically bring him back now that Vince is gone. No, I don't think it's a little bit more layered than that. Not just the issue with Vince alone, in my opinion.
You want to hear these poll results?
Yes, let's hear the poll.
Do you have faith in Triple H as head of creative? 91% yes, 9% no. That is 55 votes.
Y'all got to be kidding me! Come on.
Wow. You said it was no?
Yes.
Wow.
91%.
Wow, that's surprising. We got Will Chisholm says Triple H is going to try to keep Io Shirai. Probably so. He might that's one person that may have been on the way out that they
Yeah.
may talk into staying on long term. We got Marcus saying some changes I would love to see, less rematches, storylines that makes sense, and hopefully no more weird camera cuts. That falls in line with getting rid of Kevin Dunn. I think if you get rid of Kevin Dunn, you won't see the weird camera cuts. I think the storylines will make more sense, and like Romeo said, maybe we'll get more long-term storytelling, and like we already said from the beginning, less rematches was already a given without Vince McMahon being there.
Love it.
Annika adding, I'm just looking for some simple changes, such as not putting both belts on a dude going to be a part-timer and not giving us the same dang main event every freaking pay-per-view. That is one thing that will be noted. Yeah, like we won't see, I don't think we're gonna see the era of the John Cena, the Roman Reigns, the one guy on top that beats everyone type of era with Triple H, because we never really saw that with NXT. He had his times, he had his long reigns, whether it be a Finn Balor, Adam Cole, but he never had them be like this overpowering force that kind of sucked the life out of the show that John Cena and Roman Reigns have proven to be.
What is Triple H Brock Lesnar's relationship?
That should be very interesting. I mean, we talked about that on True Hill Heat 185. Definitely check that out, where a lot of us assume that it might be the end of Brock Lesnar for a while, at least after SummerSlam, but that remains to be seen. That's a good question. Chase Oliver adding, Triple H slept his way to the top. Vince slept his way to the bottom.
I'm not touching that.
Oh. Speaking of this,
we're gonna get there.
That's why I wanted to save that one for the like, keep those comments coming, because there's a third count. Man. There's a third count that we gotta go to, and it's all about Vincent Kennedy McMahon and further fallout from his whole ordeal with the allegations, all the money that he paid out to former employees. Remember, we got 100 people watching again. Remember to drop that thumbs up on the video, share it with your friends, subscribe if you are new to the channel. Well, we're gonna get to the 3 count here, which is Vince McMahon's unfiled or basically filed expenses due to these hush pack payments from WWE's 8K filing. The company has made a preliminary determination that certain payments that Vince McMahon agreed to make during the period from 2006 through 2022, including amounts paid and payable in the future, and that were not recorded in the WWE consolidated financial statements, should have been recorded as expenses in the quarters in which those payments were made. As of the date hereof, the company has identified unrecorded expenses totaling approximately $14.6 million, all payments underlining the unrecorded expenses were or will be paid by Vince McMahon personally. So this throws a loop on what a lot of WWE, attorneys, quote unquote, on social media, WWE defenders on social media were saying, like, oh man, what are we talking about here? That's his money. That has nothing to do with anything. But apparently this money that was basically unrecorded should have been recorded as company expenses. So it wasn't all his money, apparently so. But StatKing, we have you as our legal liaison, so you can explain it in legal terms. Of course, explain it in legal terms first, and then dumb it down for us idiots like me.
Yes, explain it to me like I'm 5 after.
Gotcha. So let's start off with just what an 8K filing is. An 8K filing is just basically like a formal press release. That's the easiest way to kind of look at it. It's something that you're not required. It's not like a requirement to make an 8K filing every year, similar to how like there's a 10K or 10Q quarterly reports and that kind of stuff. What 8K is just like, hey, SEC, hey, IRS, this is something that you need to know. And it's also something that our investors need to know. And stick a pin in that, because I'm going to get back to what the investors needed to know. So this filing is talking about how Vince over time used company funds to pay for personal expenses. Now, those personal expenses are the payoff money, the hush money for all those women that he may or may not have had a relationships with, and whether those relationships involved any level of sexual harassment or sexual assault, we don't know. There have been allegations. In addition, the idea behind this is that he should have been using his own money. And this can tie in, or to give you guys a great example of something else that you would remember from the headlines or from the news. This is similar in idea to one of the questions about Donald Trump and Stormy McDaniels. And Sid, you and I were talking about this one of the previous 2 times that we were on to talk about all of these allegations and newsworthy events. The issue with what Trump may or may not have done was that he was using campaign funds to pay off Stormy Daniels as opposed to his own personal funds. Then we found out that it was maybe his personal attorney who paid for it, and then we ended up finding out it did actually come from the campaign. Why is this important? Now, remember what I said earlier about investors. This is important because the campaign funds are supposed to be used for the campaign. You could argue that the Stormy McDaniels and that kind of situation, it affects the campaign. And the same way you could argue that Vince McMahon having to pay these women off affects WWE. So it's sort of company fun. It's a company reason to pay for it. However, there are clear laws that indicate what somebody is and is not allowed to use company funds to pay for. And this is where we talk about something called fiduciary duty. So board of directors, executives, anybody that's in a position of power in a company, part of the reason why you are put in that position of power is because they trust you to behave in a manner that follows fiduciary duty. Fiduciary has to do, like the word itself, it has to do with funds. That's why, or money. There's a money obligation. That's why bank accounts, when they are currently, they are insured by the federal government up to about $100,000. And the insurance, if you look at it on your either bank statement or on any kind of information, if you Google it, it says insured by the FDIC. Now, it's a fiduciary. That's where that F's coming from. It's that fiduciary kind of aspect to it. And what this means is that if you are a shareholder of WWE, you are owed information. You are owed a level of duty. They are supposed to be loyal to you. There's a duty of care that's involved. There's a duty to not misappropriate and misuse company funds. It's this weird kind of situation where it's they're supposed to be loyal. They're supposed to have care. And when they don't do that, they are violating that duty to their shareholders who own the company. Now, this is also where the issue of people misunderstanding voting shares versus non-voting shares. Yes, Vince owns the majority of the voting shares, but that doesn't mean he owns the majority of all the shares. The majority of all the shares are being held by mutual funds, by individual people, by pension plans, all that kind of stuff. And when he is using company funds to pay for individual things that are for him, his personal expenses, it's called conversion. You're converting funds or resources that don't belong to you for your personal benefit. Back when I was working in litigation for class action stuff for having to do with telephone communications and text messages and things like that, there was always an aspect of each lawsuit that would talk about conversion, that the person that is that is being sued is misappropriating somebody's resources or somebody's funds in a way they should not be doing so. Why is this important? Because the SEC and the IRS really crack down on these sorts of things. They don't want these sorts of things to happen, because if people are investing their money and you owe them that fiduciary level of care, you're not supposed to be using that money for yourself. It's supposed to be used for the benefit of the company. And $14.6 million in the grand scheme of things may not seem like a large amount of money. This is a company that does hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue every year, but that's hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue now. This was over the course of many years, starting, I think, in 2019, because part of the press release was that WWE is going to be revising and reissuing financial statements dating back to 2019. That means for 3 years at that we know of right now, there were misrepresentations to individuals. that caused people to invest. That's violating SEC laws, or SEC rules. Shouldn't say laws. So this is a complicated situation that is really the cause of him stepping down as CEO for this retirement, that or so-called retirement, because it's really a resignation. He was put in a situation where he had to do something because he's not going to be able to remain as the leader and the figurehead of this company while it potentially faces SEC and IRS investigation. It's a really, really bad scenario for him to be in, and you really don't want that as a company. It's in this situation, it is actually showing a level of fiduciary duty and a duty of loyalty and a duty of care to step down, because you know it's going to be worse for the company if you were to remain in the role. So at the very least, it's like, hey, I'll salvage this somehow. And that's oftentimes why you see this. And that's why what's really important for the press release is that it also stated he's resigning as chairman of the board and one of the directors of the company. The board of directors are the people who are going to put in place the people like Stephanie, the people like Nick Khan, the people like Triple H. By removing himself from that, it is taking away another layer of the control that he has over the company from a larger standpoint. Now, because he still owns those voting shares, though, he still is going to be able to control the company from behind the scenes as far as we know. This is going to be a situation for the board without him to try to either find a way to change the way those shares vote, or for them to say, you need to sell your shares. I mean, more than likely, he's going to end up trying to transfer them or something like that to Stephanie and Hunter, or Stephanie and Hunter's kids, like maybe put them in trust or something like that, so it stays within the family. Overall, it's a really, really complicated and tricky scenario, but anybody that thinks that he was using his own personal money, because this is what the big thing was a month or so ago. It's that, yes, the money was, he was paying these women off, but he wasn't using company funds. He absolutely was. And this is really telling that it's not the sexual assault or sexual harassment allegations that are bringing him down. It is violating the IRS law and violating IRS rules and violating SEC rules and regulations. It's, Sid, you and I were talking about this before we went on live. It reminds me of Al Capone, because Al Capone was a notorious gangster who killed people, extorted, bootlegging, all those sorts of horrible things in Chicago back during the time of Prohibition. But what ultimately brought him down was tax evasion. And this is a very similar situation that Vince has. Whether you agree with the statement or not, Vince has done some things that are unethical and immoral, and he has done them over the years, and now we're finding out about a lot of them in the recent time. But we also know about things like Jimmy Superfly Snuka. We know all the different things that he's done with the steroid abuses. All that sort of thing building up towards this. It's ultimately going to be money related that brings him down. And there's something that's just a weird poetic justice about this, because everything he did was all about protecting the revenue from the company. He's paying off the police and things like that with Snuka so that Snuka isn't hurt, because having Snuka helps the company. He's doing all these sorts of things to protect the company, and now it's the money and how he did it that's going to be what takes him out or brings him down. And there's just a little level of poetic justice there.
So hold on, SP3. So for those of us who probably understand things a lot better in like the form of memes, StatKing, would you say that this pretty much describes what we're talking about here?
Yes, it would very much summarize it up. I'm just wondering why he didn't talk to Ted DiBiase. I mean, $1 Million Man. He's got to have
Vince
somebody
McMahon was the $1 Million
instead of
Man this entire time.
And I think
Yes.
last time I made the joke that maybe it was Vince who advised Trump how to do the thing with Stormy Daniels. Now it's even bigger that it could be that's how that happened.
May have happened. And to kind of go in line with what StatKing said, the SEC filing It is interesting to note that World Wrestling Entertainment described Vince McMahon's exit as a resignation, not a retirement. It said, and I quote, on July 22nd, 2022, Vincent K. McMahon informed the company and its board of directors of his resignation from his positions as a chief executive officer, chairman, and director of the company effective immediately. What the hell kind of world are we living in? Like seriously? This what? So to answer Follow B super chat that we brought up earlier, from Dunn to Dundaza, Washington, kind of wrap things up here. Dunzo, you're on Dunzo.
Yeah.
Romeo, what about you, StatKing?
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting because I mean, court cases can go either way. If it does rise to that, it could just be a situation where he's gonna have to pay a massive fine. But either way, it's gonna be really. I mean, I'm a legal guy, so like I'm looking at this like, oh, this is gonna be really fun to watch and pay attention to. So
we're gonna have to make our own series here. You know, StatKing breaking down this or whatever's going to be going on in court.
Hey, I was watching.
Seriously, we're about to scrap the Romeo report and the 3 count with SP3, and it's a legal study with StatKing. That's what it's gonna become. It's gonna become with this whole Vince McMahon saga here. A couple of comments I wanted to feature here. Dan, one of our Patreon backers, thank you so much. Saying StatKing, thoughts on the viable stock contract Vince signed a couple of years ago.
So I'm not 100% sure what that contract is. I know he signed. I remember reading about him signing a variable stock contract, but without really understanding or knowing what it is, I don't know if I want to say either way. If either of you two guys have any information about that, like let me know, and I'll be able to figure something. I'll be able to figure something out about it. But I know he signed it, but I don't know what the details are.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. We can do more. Maybe we could see if StatKing is free to jump on for a little bit. I would love to see Dutch Mantel's reaction to you explaining legal matters on Saturday. So if you're free on Saturday, feel free to jump on and explain that after you read up about it a little bit more. EBB saying, I also agree with StatKing's analysis. Yes, very newsworthy. And yes, attorneys, AKIKs and money and forms. Yes, I completely agree. Laws, exactly. I know exactly what you're saying, and I completely agree. My testament, exactly. Easy Attack, aka Professor Chris, saying I am with SP3 on Banks leaving. At this point, she has teased leaving WWE too many times. She can't keep crying wolf. She owes it to herself to see what's out there. So, whew. What a world we are living in. We broke it all down for you here on a special breaking news edition. There you go. New channel, True Hill Heat Law with the StatKing. Boom. Book it, Dano. StatKing, please let the people know where they can find you and when you'll be back on the channel next. Sir.
You guys can catch me on Dark Power covering AEW Dark, Elevation, and NWA Power. You guys can catch me on the Rampage wrap-up with the True Draw Josh covering Rampage, AEW Rampage every single week. You guys can also catch me on THH Sports, our sister channel, where we cover basketball, baseball, football, and a whole bunch of other sports. Yeah, that's the places you guys can find me.
Yeah, check out that Rampage wrap up. It premiered. They went live yesterday on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/True Hill Heat Wrestling for more exclusive content like that and Dark Power. Romeo, where can the people find you next?
Go follow me, True Hill Romeo, on Twitter and Instagram tonight. Rated Raw Superstars 58 from the Garden and MSG. Let's see what Triple H has got cooked up for us tonight. Any changes? Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Tomorrow, NX3, we watch NXT. Join us for that. Shawn Michaels, baby. And Wednesday, Elite Heat number 11. Fight for the Fallen. Join us for that.
Yes, and we got one last super chat donation here from EVB. What's one thing you're hoping to be changed? Just one. I better see everyone coming out to Metallica. Great stuff. One thing I'm hoping to be changed is I agree with Romeo, just a long-term storytelling, long-term booking for like the performers, because I think that was missing for a long time.
If I could just add one thing. Guys, if only there had been somebody, maybe, I don't know, 10, 11 years ago, who was telling us about all of the things that could be done to improve WWE. And maybe he talked about what would happen if Vince McMahon ever were to leave the company, because Vince has always said that WWE like is his life. And if he's kind of stepping away from WWE, it kind of means that in a sense, he's kind of dead. And maybe this person was saying that after he's gone, everybody's just going to keep pouring money into the company. He's just a spoke on the wheel. And maybe the company would be better when Vince McMahon is dead, but it's going to be taken over by his idiotic daughter and his doofus son-in-law. If only somebody had told us this.
Thanks for that reenactment of the pipe bomb. You can find me on the Twitter machine at True Heel SP3. I'll be back on the channel for AE Ramble episode 53 on Thursday. Check out AE Ramble episode 52, Death Before This Nonsense, and also check out our ROH Death Before Dishonor roundtable review from yesterday with me and Benno from Post Wrestling. I'll also be back here on Friday for our WWE SummerSlam preview at 12:05 p.m. Eastern Time with special guest Kenny Bolin, and then True Hill Heat 186 on Saturday 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time with special guest Rick Ucchino and the legendary Dutch Mantel. Check out True Hill Heat 185. Bon voyage, Vince, as we talked about Vince retiring. So we got a lot to discuss on True Hill Heat on Saturday. So for Romeo, for the StatKing, it is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. This has been a special 3 Count with SP3 on Vince McMahon's unrecorded expenses, as well as Triple H becoming the new head of talent relations and creative. We are signing off until next time.